everybody. I'm Karen Recton with Retail Control Systems, and we're here today to present FastSensor information to you. And Kalon Welch from FastSensor will be doing our presentation this afternoon. So glad to have him, and thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. And so we'll go ahead and get started. So Kalon, I'll turn it to you.
Great. Hello, everybody. My name is Kalon Welch, Executive Vice President of Business Development, one of the co-owners of FastSensor. Really excited to share our solution with you today. We're going to spend just about 15-20 minutes walking through the basic technology, share a little bit about various specifics on ADAM, how you can deploy ADAM and take the data and put it into action, of course. We will definitely have time for questions, so if you could, in the short term, drop them into the chat window or save them for when we open up later. We'll open it up as quickly as possible. I'm going to try to run through the overview, get you into the basics, and then we definitely look forward to a conversation towards the end of the time, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Very quick background on the company. We've been around for 7 years. This is not a new technology. We started in Brazil originally, worked for many years down there with many brands, big and small retailers, automotive dealerships. We work in trade show, we work in a lot of spaces. And what we've been doing originally was figuring out customer behavior and customer analytics and consumer behavior tracking specifically in all these environments. We started out working with Ambev, as in Anheuser-Busch, helping them understand how to get a customer to buy another beer. We took a team of about 65 engineers, built FastSensor, and since then have gone global, and we work in about 17 countries, and we've worked with over 100 brands. Rewind about 8 to 10 weeks ago, the world sort of went on hold with the coronavirus and COVID-19 hitting, and we started looking at our unique technology and saying, how can we help? And we determined very quickly that we could help solve social distancing because of the uniqueness of our technology and how it works. And it had a lot of benefits specifically to address this challenge. So we built what is called ADAM, and ADAM means Active Distance Alert and Monitoring. And it is a system designed to study the movement behaviors and the people concentration and proximity within a physical environment. And it can determine if there are social distancing violations that are occurring, which, by the way, can be structured and set from a sensitivity perspective, where we can start at CDC levels, which are very high, and actually drop down to what I would call real world and what we're trying to build to create a safe space in an environment. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward. I'm going to spend just a couple minutes on the basic technology so you understand where we come from, why this is ready to go out of the box so quickly and can be trusted. This is a study that was done by a company called Planet Retail R&G about a year and a half ago. They looked at all the available shopper tracking technologies on the planet and categorized them into boxes of buckets of technology, not brands. And you can see up over here, we've got GPS systems. These are your geofencing solutions. They don't work indoors, of course. If you've ever tried to use Google Maps in your trade show, it didn't work. There's a reason for that. Wi-Fi tracking systems. These are pretty much existing deployments from companies like Cisco and many others who are ultimately taking Wi-Fi only signals, doing their best to locate them within a spatial environment and trying to provide analytics on them. We'll talk to you about how we're different. Beacon systems you've probably heard of in your careers. In the center boxes, you're seeing a lot of computer vision and camera-based solutions, thermal imaging, time of flight, structured light, you name it. And they all kind of fit into a similar type of bucket related to range, accuracy, and cost. You'll notice on the top here, there's a box that says Vector Radio Frequency Trilateration, and it lists FastSensor by name. That's our box. They built it for us because we did not fit in another box. We have unique technology, and we have the ability to provide data that nobody else can in a way that nobody else can. So very quickly, just some comparison points for those of you familiar with beacon systems. Biggest challenges are that they require download opt-in, your Bluetooth must be on. You wind up with very low penetration sample rates, usually less than 5%. You have a lot of ongoing cost and expense related to them. They cannot solve social distancing nor do general customer behavior tracking. Wi-Fi systems have challenges related to penetration similarly, because a lot of customers walk around with their Wi-Fi off. And then the accuracy of these systems is about a 3 to 5 meter radius circle, which is a very big space. So they don't do a great job of penetration or of accuracy to help determine, nor are many of them written from an algorithmic perspective to create data sets that are usable in your business. So we're disrupting both of those technologies. A lot of what we're compared to in the marketplace is the computer vision and camera-based systems. You'll get the overhead door counters from 100 companies. There's lots of these out there. Where they tend to fall down is in a privacy perspective. They tend to fall down in cost. They're often 3 to 5 or even 10 times more expensive than us. And they have other situations where they can't track loyal or unique users like we can. And then you move into some of the higher end technical solutions like LiDAR systems, similar challenges to the cameras. So we'll answer questions at the end if you want us to compare and contrast with anything you've used or seen. But I'll just wrap here and say that FastSensor provides over a 90+% passive penetration, and it's often 95, 96, 98%. We test and validate that with each customer. We have the accuracy of our location engine of 1 square meter when we use 3 or more sensors in our legacy products, our premium or basic, we call them. In our ADAM or social distancing solution, we've simplified the technology to reduce the cost. From a hardware perspective, we can deploy with 2 sensors and we're still 1.5 meter accurate, which is less than the 2 meters required for social distancing, but it balances cost and efficiency, of course, in deployment and otherwise, okay? So we say we have the best range, greatest accuracy, lowest cost, and we're gonna now convert into how the system basically works to answer some very standard questions. We do require hardware to be deployed in the business. It's a box up here on the left and also the one behind my head. It's not that big. It's about 1 inch by 6 inches by 4 inches. And it's designed to effectively, passively, and anonymously gather radio frequency vectors. So all it's doing is listening for radio frequency signals that are being emitted from your personal devices. So your cell phones, your Apple Watches, your Fitbits, your tablets, these are all emitting Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, RFID, NFC, etc. These signals are being emitted passively. We are listening for those signals. We locate them through trilateration technology, and we study the journey of the customer in 6-second samples as they move around the location. Now, because we know where everybody is, and we know ultimately how close they are to each other and for how long, we can solve social distancing. Before I jump into that, I'll just finish off with the data and say that it's harvested locally. It is deployed by either wired or wireless installation of our sensors. We can train your teams or third-party labor companies and partners like RCS to bring in labor to deploy these, or we can train you directly as a customer. And from there, you plug them in and they technically run on their own. They are self-training AI algorithms. The data does not touch your network. We do not need to be on your Wi-Fi system connected to your any of your networks or data sets. No concern, therefore, with being PCI compliant or otherwise. We are simply talking via an LTE network directly to the cloud, and we do that via an LTE router, which would be located in a room within your environment, okay? So the data comes from the local harvest, it pushes to the cloud, and then it is output into dashboards and in other formats, which we'll talk about momentarily. Now, let's talk very quickly about machine learning. The only reason this works is because we have artificial intelligence algorithms that were designed to study people, movement, and behaviors. What we did for ADAM is create a new algorithm that looks at different behavior. Nobody needed to really monitor social distancing up until about 8 to 10 to 12 weeks ago. So we took our existing technology and hardware, we applied it to solve social distancing, and this is where ADAM was born. It's been in the market for X number of weeks. We've got contract signs and we're doing deployments, and we're literally deploying ADAM in retail stores, warehouse environments, manufacturing spaces, corporate office environments, across multiple verticals. So really, it can be deployed anywhere you need people who are moving and behaving around each other, and you want to make sure that they are staying away to protect your employees, to protect your customers, and of course your business at the same time, okay? So our system will automatically deduplicate and reconcile me with multiple devices. Again, my watch, my phone, I'm treated as one person, so I don't trigger the system because I have multiple devices, just so you know that. We will automatically exclude all the rest of the radio frequency in your environment through a learning procedure with the artificial intelligence. So all your phones and tablets and TVs and point of sale systems will not affect the system. It will quickly learn them and exclude them. And ultimately, we're going to give you real-time, up-to-the-moment data on proximity and people concentration, not just capacity. And I'm going to hit that point for one quick second here. What most of the solutions on the market are doing today is that people are saying, you need to limit capacity in your store. That's how you stay safe. And then, by the way, tell everybody to stay away from each other. Well, if anyone's been out there in the retail environment recently, and you know that human beings like to do whatever they want to do, many of them are not following these social distancing guidelines, and they're putting your customers, your employees, and your business at risk. So our goal is to help you understand where that's occurring, help you ultimately understand why, and then be a measurement tool as you work to address it to see, is it working? And have you done your best to mitigate all the risks within your environment, okay? So in the difference in comparison to capacity, we're measuring proximity and concentration. Again, we know where everybody is, we know how close they are to each other, and we know also where those violations may be occurring, okay? So if you have heard of what Apple and Google are doing, they're simply using Bluetooth, telling when two devices come too close, they're exchanging a token, a unique identifier that's anonymous. And if one person gets sick, they're determining that the other person should be notified. They have no idea where that's happening. They don't know if it happened at your store. They don't know if it happened at the park or otherwise. It's a very different solution. We are not competing with them. We are complementary. And that is really designed for proximity tracing. We're designed for social distancing, monitoring, and alerts and compliance and measurement, okay? Now, the way the system works is that you plug and play 2 or more sensors. We can go into a large space or a small space. 2 sensors will cover up to about 5,000 square feet. We've also scoped recently a 96 million square foot environment. It happens to be a university campus in Southern California. The point is we can go as big or as small as you need, and the pricing in the system just fluctuates based on the square footage and how many rooms you have, okay? Now, how does the data come to you? If you're a store manager, we can do a real-time alert, text message, email, or we can connect to any system you have via webhooks. So that would mean talk to your content management system with your digital signage network. We could talk to your system that might be broadcasting through an auditory message to remind your customers to stay apart from each other. We can have a command and control dashboard in the back office of your business so you can see what's happening and where. And of course, we have dashboards that are available, which we'll show you in just a moment. So you can use them at the store level, at the district region, or even the corporate level. And ideally, from a corporate perspective, you're looking down at your organization. You're looking for areas of potential issue and risk. You're going to mitigate those by working with your localized teams to monitor and address issues that are occurring within your environment, okay? So let me move forward here. Just to kind of wrap overall on the benefits, the goal really at the end of the day is to rebuild customer trust. Customers are starting to be allowed by the governments back into stores, and they're allowing you to open or getting close to that depending on where you are. Just because they open the doors does not mean that people are going to show back up in droves. Most people are nervous and they're scared, and they've had limited exposure to retail over the last 6 to 8 weeks. And if it's anything like my experience, I'm afraid every time I go out, okay? Because people are not staying away from each other. Some are doing better than others, but I don't feel comfortable with all these businesses, and I'm not going to run out next week and just act like nothing happened. But if I go to a business and I realize that they've got the right solutions in place, you know, working with a company like RCS to be able to say, look, I've got, you know, sneeze guard situations, and I've got physical distancing information on the floors. I've got other technology like FastSensor deployed with ADAM, and you can round out the entire solution set together. But if I come into that environment and realize that this is a safe place, I'm more likely to come back. I'm more likely to stay longer, to spend more. Okay, so that's key, is rebuilding customer trust. ADAM is designed, again, to give you that social distancing information and data in real time as well as empirically. All the data is stored on a private cloud. It is 100% privacy policy compliant around the world. And this is a very, very key point. Whether it's CCPA, GDPR, or one of any privacy policies globally, we are compliant, we are safe, we have been vetted. We have a non-PII, non-personally identifiable information system. Your customers, we do not know anything about them. Now, if you are interested in our legacy solutions, we have information on their movement behavior. We still don't know who they are. If they do opt in through an app, a captive portal, or otherwise, we can get data on them. But we're going to stay focused on just the basics today, which is ADAM, and we'll tell you that it is completely anonymous, passive. No download, no opt-in. You don't need an app. You need nothing other than our system to work and a way to view the data, okay? So think about mitigating risks. Think about focusing in and ferreting out issues within your environments and creating a safer space to create business continuity and reduce, hopefully, some of the legal risks related to COVID and reopening your stores in the near future, okay? So, to talk a little bit about what does this cost, how do I deploy it, we'll just spend a couple minutes here, and then I'd love to get some questions to open up the floor and get all of your concerns addressed. Real quickly, I will tell you that 2 sensors will cover up to about 5,000 square feet. We are doing a 500 sensor per year annual subscription, which basically covers your hardware, much like a lease, but not, so we don't have to charge you tax. $25 per month usage fees, and if you prepay, for a year we do 20%. For ADAM only, we are doing month-to-month contracts, so you do not have to worry about this shutting off in 6 months and having spent too much. You can, and we offer the ability to stay with us to get the other metrics on your store, which are going to be running in the background regardless. So if you just want an ADAM only, you're looking at about $107 a month for a small location, and that will go up with size, okay? Now, let's show you a little bit more on how you use the data, and then we'll open this up. And Karen, if you want to start kind of opening up those questions and get people ready to go, I'll just wrap on the APIs and the dashboards. So what you're looking here is the fact that we have live dashboards, which you can see here on the left. I'll show you one in just a moment. A, and B, you can get the data via webhooks and via APIs. Our dashboards are built on our APIs. We can feed the data directly into your existing system, so you don't need another login dashboard and something to remember and another screen to look at. We can plug this directly into what you've got currently, into any type of technology you have today, whether it's, you know, Tableau, GDS, Power BI, etc. Okay. This is what the dashboards look like. You're going to look at how many times ADAM has been triggered over the time frame, which you can adjust. We're looking at the last month. You can see how your fluctuations occur and how safe your location is. You can then break these down by days of week, hours of the day to see when and where you're having the issues. And then the physical location of the issues is going to be highlighted literally in the form of dots on the screen. Simple as possible. We don't want people to have to learn how to use the system. If you can look at an image and see where the dot is located, you can figure out where you're having issues. And you can then make changes and then measure and determine, did it work or did it not? Very, very, very simple system. And I'm going to show you one last slide called the last mile. These are other ways to take and consume our data. So you can work with RCS if you wanted to buy tablets or handhelds, if you wanted to get SMS and text alerts and provide devices for that, if you wanted a command and control center dashboard up on a screen, from your favorite company behind in your offices, You can even place the data at the front of your business and provide a social distancing score for yourself to build customer confidence and trust. We call it an ADAM score. But basically know that the data can come in many formats and can be used in various capacities. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pause here and love to open up the floor. We've got about 9 minutes left and happy to answer any questions that may have come up within the last 10, 15 minutes.
Hi, Kalon. I have a question. This is Ryan. So when you're looking at the data and those dots,
Yep.
Can you break that down into like by the hour, by the 15 minutes? Like how specific can you get?
Yep. So up here in the left, you'll see this last month. I can make that 7 days and we can literally break it down in detail. The API is going to have that hyper detailed data down in those lower increments. It just becomes a little cumbersome to look at on screen, depending on how big or how small you want the data set. But we have from big to small as far as frequency and duration. And by the way, ADAM can be set and or adjusted over time for sensitivity. So the CDC recommends 2 people more than 10 minutes is a social distancing violation. You can set it to 2 people for 5 minutes, which is our recommendation. And you could go down into 4, 3, 2, et cetera minutes if you wanted to figure out. Our recommendation is to start high, figure out where your bigger pictures are, and then slowly bring the gap in and isolate those areas. But with the data, Ryan, to answer your question, we can get you into intense detail if you're interested.
Great.
Great question. Other questions?
Kalon, I think it would be good to talk about how it recognizes groups of people like families.
Sure.
And then maybe also about the ability to serve as a traffic counter too, as I know a lot of businesses need that.
Sure. So one of the typical questions that comes up is, well, what if I show up with my family? Isn't it going to just go off the whole time? And this is the beauty of artificial intelligence. We teach the system to look for this type of behavior, and we effectively exclude it because it's allowed. So if you come in as a group of 3, 4, 5 people and you walk around the store, the system will not alert on you because you came in as a group. And this is the power of artificial intelligence. So we automatically account for that. These people in red did not come in together. They got too close in line for too long, and our system sent an alert and it said you've got an issue in your queue. And so you can start to look at that, and then you can realize, hey, maybe I should spread those line markings out, my social distancing X's or my nice stickers or whatever you decide to deploy. And you can then say, did it work? And if I'm still getting issues in my line, my queue, then I need to keep addressing that. Maybe I need physical barriers. In the worst case, maybe I need labor, but hopefully we're trying to stay away from that. So that was one answer. What was the other question you had? About the low overall larger? Okay. So looking at the bigger picture, ADAM is a feature of FastSensor. FastSensor Basic and Premium are legacy products. With the existing deployment for ADAM, you can also get other data on your location, which is our normal business. So you could do walk-by traffic. You can do what we call a qualified visitor count, which is a true customer counter. The system will exclude your employees and will exclude the FedEx delivery guy, and it'll tell you what we call a qualified visitor using artificial intelligence for your space and determine how many customers are in your location, okay? If you want a capacity measurement, and you need to know all the people, then you know how many employees you have. We would say it's more accurate than your door counter if you have one today. But to be clear, we don't sell it as a capacity counter. It's a qualified visitor or customer counter. And that is what it will demonstrate to you. And then you know how many customers you have, or excuse me, employees you have in the store as well, okay? We do visit duration or dwell time. And we do what we call as a visitor profile, which is a browser versus engager metric. So all of this data is available and you can bundle it with ADAM. And if you decide you want to turn ADAM off in 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, you can. And we will turn it off month to month as you need it. And you will, of course, save money in that instance. But the system will have other ancillary benefits that will hopefully keep you with us over time. And I hate to say it, but if this goes away and next winter it comes back in the form of a mutated COVID-20, you can turn ADAM back on and you'll have future-proof yourself, okay? So this is kind of the others, and we have additional employee tracking features and even 1 square meter accurate subdivisions for our premium product if you're interested in that as well. Other questions?
And if anybody has a question, if you'd put it in the chat or the Q&A, that would be good. I don't see any right now.
I'll just highlight a couple of our partners. Obviously, RCS is bringing us to you guys. We appreciate that. We're working with people like Microsoft, Intel, Honeywell, Zebra, Samsung, LG, T-Mobile, Telefonica. These are all ADAM partners. We can bundle these types of solutions via RCS, bringing them to you to help you deploy and sponsor this. We can work with installation partners to get them in or train your teams. So just wanted to call that out. And just to kind of wrap on this, plug and play, AI-driven self-training. It's public spectrum radio frequency, non-PII based platform, no opt-in, no download, nothing that the customer needs other than to show up with what they already have, which is a personal device, okay? We are not touching your network, it's private LTE. We have various access level controls for the dashboard, so you can look at them from various levels, as well as full data via APIs. 90+% penetration, and again, the most important thing is completely privacy policy compliant, no issues. And we want you to use the data to create safer spaces, rebuild customer confidence, and ultimately get your businesses open safer, sooner, and more responsibly at the end of the day. Other questions? Great. Looks like there might be one in the Q&A.
One.
Yeah. So
it's asking about getting a copy of the presentation, which we always publish that after this is over. So we'll send everybody a link.
Yep. Great question. We will send that.
And we had other people registered too that did not show up. So our people are trained now that they know they can get a copy of it and not attend.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. We do have one more question that came in through the chat. What if a customer doesn't have a mobile device?
That is the only situation we will not pick them up, and you're talking 1 to 2% of the population at this point, and lots of years of data.
It's also worth mentioning, though, if they have a smartwatch or other smart objects, that it'll pick them up.
Anything that emits radio frequency, we will pick up, including this Apple Watch or others. My Fitbit, for example, will actually, some of them transmit Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. We will pick those up as well. Anything that emits RF in public spectrum acts as that customer beacon, so to speak. We will listen to it passively, locate it, and determine where the people are relative to each other. So you're talking about probably 2 to 5% in the worst case scenario, unless you're at a Chuck E. Cheese and there's a lot of 5-year-olds running around without phones. But unfortunately, many of them do as well. But in most of your environments, you're going to have a high 90+% penetration. And that is more than a statistically relevant sample size, and will give you enough data to determine where your risk zones are, and you can address them regardless. But it's a very rare instance that somebody doesn't have a device these days. Great question. Any last questions there?
Looks like that's it.
All right, we will wrap on that. Sorry, I just wanted to say thank you to Karen and the RCS team. We appreciate this. If you guys have questions and want to set up further discussions and demos, reach out to your RCS representatives, and we can put together a full package for you and address whatever needs you have. Thank you for the opportunity, Karen. Floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll be sending out information to you.
Thank you.
Talk to you next time. Thanks, Kalon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.